I think we need some new blood. I think some of us are in the old guard, as you would speak. I'd like to see the place.
Youth coming through.
With a lot of new energy coming through, and go forward and do the mai, and be excited about it.
This podcast is proudly supported by the Ōtara Network Action Committee, ONAC, community-owned, community-driven and community-led.
Kia ora mai tātou. Welcome back again to We Are Ōtara. This is your podcast. It belongs to South Auckland and it's for South Auckland so that everybody gets to hear the good news that we've got going on here, right here in the heart of the motherland, Ōtara, New Zealand. Today, I'm very excited that I have with me Soane one more time, Soane Foliaki, who is one of our local lawyers. And just off camera before we started, Soane and I were having a bit of a conversation about what brings him to Ōtara to serve our people in this way, because I guess what breaks my heart every time I go up there is you come through the front door and there's a whole lot of sad, terrified people looking there, and those are your clients. And how do we restore the mana, which helps them stand up for their rights? And that's really what I see that you're there for, mana restoration, and then...
No, that's really interesting, Judy. So my name is Soane Foliaki. I was called John most of my life here at school. I'm from Tonga. I've been here since I was 10 years old, so I'm New Zealand educated, in Auckland University. I have worked as a barrister for at least 10 years, senior solicitor at a corporate firm. I've been working...
Can we ask who you were with?
No, I'm not going to say the firm I've been with. It's kind of, that's private to them. And I've been at the Community Law Centre here in Ōtara for 13 years. Sorry. Just about 13 years. So I came almost there. I came in 2013 in September. So
are you full-time here in Ōtara?
Yeah, I'm full-time here.
Wow, that's an incredible contribution.
Yeah, and, the latter part of my career, the kids are more or less grown up and, less need to chase that almighty dollar, and you begin to look at the... some other place upstairs, where are you heading in your journey? And, I wanted to come and work at the Community Law Centre and be of some use to our community here in Ōtara. So that's how I've ended up here. And I've been there quite a long time. I've been there for, as I said, almost 13 years. So,
wow. I think we've been residents here for 13 years, but we've never met, which is kind of weird.
Well, I had a hard look coming through here and I'm going, wow, this is a good place here. How come I haven't been here before? So it's good to be here.
Well, let's change that from today.
So where we are at the centre, just to give a little bit of what we do there, we're supposed to deliver, give access, justice to all. That means that everybody has a right to have a lawyer if you meet a particular criteria. And the main one is that, low income. You don't earn enough to be able to pay for a lawyer. And also in some instances, you can't get legal aid, although you've got a job and you might have a home and you have 5 kids, but, your financials are such that you can't afford back in the day before I came here, I was charging out as senior law probably about $300 an hour, and that's over 10 years. I'd hate to think what I'd be charged out if I was back out there in the marketplace. But everything that I've learned in the past and about law, I deliver it all at the centre for free. And that's really, really a good thing. And I've done work at the centre, and a lot of people won't know this, but I've done work there, even High Court judicial review cases. One case from the centre, we're looking at a criminal appeal to the High Court at the moment, whether we're going to do that. Ton of immigration work, ton of criminal work, a lot of family. That there is a real difference between our centre than other centres in New Zealand, and that is we actually open up a file and we do the hard mahi, And if it's litigation that's needed, we will be there in court to represent them, or at a tribunal or whatever that legal forum would be.
So I guess that's my experience with whānau that I've met through here, is that they're lucky to even find a duty lawyer, and anyone that would be a barrister, there's no way they'd even turn up to any meetings.
Yeah, no, that's very, very hard. Not that they're bad or anything, they've got to make a living, or a good living, as they may want to do. There's nothing wrong with that, but
Building their reputation.
I'm glad that we're in a place where it's a democratic country, and the government have seen fit that they provide us through the Ministry of Justice funding, so that in every area that's really needed, there is a community law centre to give access to justice for people who can't afford it, and not only just people with gold coins in their pockets can pay for a lawyer. At the community law centre. The main difference between us here in Ōtara is that we don't just do referrals. The other officers do referrals. Not many of them would go to court and actually represent.
But you can, and you're good at it.
We can, and we do it to a high level. It's not that we do it all the time, but if it's required, we'll even front up and do a jury trial. And I lead all that heavy stuff for the centre. Sometimes the boss is probably not too happy because it draws a lot of resources from us, but if we see that it's a deserving case, and it's usually there's justice involved of some form, we will head into court. There's a lot of immigration work that gets us the judicial review we did about 4 or 5 years ago, which were successful. That was an immigration work that tends to lead us to the heavy a lot of work, meaning have to go to court if it's a particular case deserving. At that time, it involved a family who had a disabled daughter, and she was 20 or some age like that, but she was going to be separated out from the family if they were to continue on with their residence application, and they met all the grounds because the woman was married to a New Zealand citizen. But how could you separate one child from your application?
Especially
as
a dependent child.
A dependent child, and that was the case. It was basically declined on the basis that she would become a burden to New Zealand's health service. But it wasn't. She didn't have that sort of disability. She didn't see a doctor, didn't need a doctor. Physically, she was well, and she'll do cleaning and things like that with her mother. They declined it, and it went all the way to the minister, and it was declined. And where else do you go? You have to go to court, to try and battle on.
So it's not sexy, and it's just desperate, actually.
Yeah, they're usually desperate cases where we think there's no justice here. Why have they not given this family a reprieve? And so we have to go to the High Court. We have to file an application judicial review. We're up against the Crown. They're very good at what they do. And we have to try and succeed. And these cases are not easy to win. And I knew that before we started, but we were fortunate enough to succeed in that particular application. But it's a good feeling if you think that you can go to a community law centre and you will get legal representation up to that level, because it's not the norm.
And I don't think our people understand that here.
Yeah, but we're very busy, and people come through the door. You were talking about empowerment and giving the mana to the people. They're facing so many difficulties in their lives. But just before I arrived here, the last thing I was on, we were having a 1 hour Zoom educational program on Te Reo Māori, and this runs every 3 weeks, I think it does. And we were talking about all these Māori terms, and it was all about how the Māori protocols, how we give that mana to people. And the lesson was helpful to us because we have people that come and face us across the desk. They've got problems, and it's very daunting. It's very, very serious in their lives, and now they have to share it with basically a stranger. They see a lawyer. Hopefully they don't see us like policemen because we're in law. So, how do we do that? And some of these Māori principles we appreciate, like the whakamā. They could be quite embarrassed too shy to speak, don't want to disclose things outside their sphere, like themselves or the family, and so we have to make them comfortable.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we talk about in Māori the whakatau. We have a new staff member, we have a whakatau, and it's a welcoming thing, and da-da-da-da, and we learn that it's about knowing that person's, where's she from or he from, and what's her being, her tūranga wawa, her people, and we make that common connection, and we know who's who, and we pay respect and acknowledge it in that space. But in the same way, that's what we have to do for our clients.
For sure.
So, a little bit of a different way of looking at it, and I was learning that. I had some idea about it in the past because I taught Māori at uni. But, there was a lesson taught to me, 5 minutes before I walked into this building. Which was really, I thought that was really
Or
great.
at your own whakatau, presumably.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't have a whakatau when I came. That was, over 10 years ago. But, we live and learn, so the centre, that's what happens with every new staff member that comes. Work stops, we have a bit of a kai there, bring the family in and one through
Manaakitanga.
Yeah, that's right. And we have that whole process. And we have a Māori kaupapa team led by, one of our wipere mita, and who's still relatively young, but I say young when they're just 30 or just over 30. He's doing very well, and he's one of the leaders of the Matatini organisation.
I was reading
group.
something about it the other day, actually, so I'm excited that you brought it up.
Yeah, so we have, he's got 2 or 3 lawyers. We have another office in Papakura, and they deal with all the Māori issues and Māori clients that need help and land issues and the like, So that's more about Centre, not about me. But so I'm enjoying where I am, and there's that satisfaction as you would have, Judy, from just helping people and seeing
Making a difference.
Making a difference in their
Because
lives.
in those fancy city law centres, the same as the fancy city companies, there isn't, everyone's trying to, bloody undermine you.
Yeah.
They're not really interested in creating a better world, and that's why I feel so at home. Just
likewise,
supporting my fellow people.
Yeah, some of our guys are still with the suits, because I'll only put it on if I have to go to court. Now it's like a uniform that we have to wear.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, new rules have come through the courts. In replacement for a tie with a suit, you can have this.
Oh, yeah, but they've tuned it down last time, didn't they? No taonga.
And now I wear this to court. My tie is off and I wear this.
Woohoo.
And I haven't been told off, so I'm...
Well, it's happened in Parliament now too.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. Might be an issue if they try to tell us to do that at our court in South Auckland. It's a little bit different in South Auckland. This is Māori and Polynesian
and exciting
territory.
To have someone with the energy and passion, but also the history. To just drive forward and fight, demand it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Kaupapa Māori, kaupapa Pasifika.
That's right.
Yeah,
so, it's very good. It's very good where I'm working, and we're all people-orientated, and we have all sorts of problems. Quite often it's, as you would know, Judy, it's do or die sometimes for these families. And sometimes it is actually, if it's criminal, and very difficult if you're doing a sentencing and it's a mum or a dad that may be going to prison on that particular day, and you've got little kids around and whānau that's there. It's the hard part of the job. And I don't know, one lawyer, it's a more senior guys that do it, that finds it not that difficult. We all struggle with that. But it's, it's that part of the job, but it's a difficult part of the job.
An interesting aspect. So, as I was explaining when we were sort of doing our whakawhanaungatanga this morning, that whole, what do you do to look after yourself?
Oh.
And I had an amazing conversation last Friday with, because everything's falling out of the sky, and I was reached out for some support from Victim Support, and their lead there said to me, so what are you doing for yourself this weekend? And you must ask yourself that, because otherwise you give and give and give, and then the tank is empty.
Yeah, but I tell you, Judy, I think I've just heard you talking about your therapist being here in the workplace.
It's only just happening.
It's just happening. And in my
Yeah.
work, I've just got to a point where
You
I'm
can come
thinking,
down and join the team.
yeah, that I need to do that because it's been a long time, and and although I've got a lot of energy and a lot of oomph going forward and doing battle and fighting the hard fights, but it does get you. It gets to you.
Oh, yeah, you come down and Vinny will give you a hug too.
Yeah,
He's very good at that.
yeah.
What's wrong? Come here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Last week I went to court, and our juniors will attend us. So there's about 4 lawyers with me, and some are learning, and one will be there on the computer to help me because I'm too old and too slow on the damn things. The judge asked a question on a particular document. I said, "Well, and the young lawyer said, "Well, what did Your Honour, email it straight to the registrar so the judge could look at it." I couldn't have dealt with that by myself, but
Well, thinking and typing at the same time is a bit complex anyway.
yeah, but just the old days I would have a paper file, but they've gone paperless, so it's quite difficult for me. You'd open up the file and you pull out a spare copy.
Yeah.
And may I tender that to you, Your Honour? That's how it would have been done. But the girl, the young female was there beside me, lawyer, and she said, "No, we've got it. I've just forwarded it to the registrar, Your Honour." I printed it up and give it to the judge right there and then. So that's technology and youth, that they're very, very good. But the case was, it was about a dad that was in prison and he was about to be deported. And he had a wife, when they picked him up, she was heavily pregnant and due to give birth at some time in not too far away from when he was taken. The wife had gave birth and complicated. She was, she was very, very upset during that time of the birth. She had a cesarean. And doubly so, she needed somebody at home with her to help with the baby. And she didn't really have anybody. So, and being illegal in the country and overstay is not a crime. It's not in the Crimes Act. In fact, it was decriminalised in 1987. I've been around too long. After the Dawn raid in the 70s, And so I was telling the judge, hey, this guy's actually in prison. They shouldn't be in prison, but some people are rightly arrested for committing crime. But anyway, he's in prison, and his wife wanted him back. And immigration MBIE lawyer was arguing for a warrant of committal, meaning they want to continue keeping him in prison until they get to deport him. And I was arguing against it, to release him to go back to his wife. In the end, we were unsuccessful.
It would be the wife that's just given birth, under difficult circumstances.
Yeah. So he hasn't seen his baby, his daughter, and the wife, she's quite distraught, and I think the judge was sympathetic, but he felt that he was bound by the law. At the moment, I'm considering whether I should be appealing this case to the High Court. And I will if the circumstances are right, and if he's still in the country, and if we think that the merit's there to succeed. So that's a legal argument. But why I'm telling the story is because we have this young lawyer who was there, and he said to me the other day, he said, I was up thinking about that case in the middle of the night. And I said, what for? He was just observing. Just how it was in the process and what happened. And I said to him, you got to try and get some rest. I said, that's, I live with that all the time, and I have for a long time. But you've just started. You haven't had your first case, and you're beginning to tell me you're losing sleep. I said, that's not good. So in answer to your question, absolutely, we need help and
just support.
Yeah, support and know to ask for it. I'm my age. I'm old school. We still think that we're fine. That's normal. You just absorb it.
Until you have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, and so I've actually. I don't mind disclosing this publicly. Some of my mates will laugh at this, but so I spoke with somebody who is a very, very good therapist. I've been told by others, and quite mature in age. He's probably older than me, but so I've got to make an appointment sometime to do that, just to try and.
And I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's so true.
Yeah.
It's great. We're so honoured to have a job that we love
Yeah, true.
and a job that we can give everything. And I leap out of bed every morning with excitement about
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah.
But it does take a toll, and I
Yeah.
see that. And it was our girls in the call centre downstairs that said to me, "We can't do this on our own, and we need
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
to talk to."
Yeah, unwind, eh?
Yeah, or just to unload, really,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
This is what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not struggling. Some of them are on the phone when young women are getting clobbered by their partners.
Yeah, yeah.
Like physically, you can hear the children
Yeah.
screaming, and
Oh, that's
that's
very
yeah.
traumatic, you know.
Yeah, and
You're
then
bearing witness to it.
and yet they'll front up at that house with
Yeah.
a food box with that whānau.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they go to the edge, but we all have to be there in the boat, eh? That's
Yeah.
what it's about,
Yeah,
isn't it?
abs-
And those young people, there's room in the boat for them too.
Yeah, absolutely, you know. So I was surprised. I'll probably talk to the boss about it. She's very good, Robin. She
Yeah,
gives
no,
us
she's great. We've met her a few times.
a lot of support.
Mm.
And but it's something new to me to see it, reflected back from a staff. Well, the trainees.
Yeah.
They're not quite fully staffed, that particular person. But to see it reflected so quickly on one particular case,
Mm.
and I'm going, there's a ton of these types of cases.
Yeah.
You will have to
Hang
deal
on to
with
them.
It. You have to deal with it
Yeah.
quite regularly here. So
Mm.
your mental health, you've got to be able to do something to support
Yeah.
yourself.
And leave it behind you, which is
And leave
yeah.
it, but it's
Yeah.
it's
But
still
you can't
hard.
leave it behind you because that is
No,
what you wake up
That's
thinking
hard.
about in
You
the
know,
night.
I wake up dictating letters in my head.
Yeah.
You know, I'm semi-awake and I'm dictating a letter that needs to go, and it's a good letter. You know, it's a good letter. You know, and then you go, oh my God, I'm still in bed. What am I doing? You know, but
that'll be-
after I've been doing this sort of work for about 35 years around there, so it's quite a journey. But having said that, where I work at the Community Law Centre here in South Auckland, I'm happy to be there and impart whatever my 2 cents worth that I can do to help, and also to the young lawyers, the junior lawyers, try and guide them along and get them to do the hard mahi and not just be there. I keep telling them this is not a normal office. If you need to be somewhere else, if you think this is a normal office, well, we work from 9 to 5 and go home. And there's people there and it's lunchtime. If somebody's knocking on the door during lunchtime because they close it between 12 or 1, I will open that door. And I said, we've got to just check in case it's an emergency. It might be an urgent protection order. Somebody's life could be in danger, so we need to check. So there is no shut the door and don't open it again, you know. That's the way it is. The phones, you have to answer the phones, make sure we get all the messages. But sometimes I think we're a little bit overburdened. I could see we could do with at least another 2 or 3 lawyers.
So what's holding that back?
I think it's probably finance. It's something above my head with the board and the manager. But I think we do. I think we need some new blood. I think some of us are in the old guard, as you would speak. I'd like to see the place.
Youth coming through?
Yeah, with a lot of new energy coming through and, go forward and do the mai and, be excited about it. Because some of us are at the other end heading towards more the other end of our careers than these young ones. And I think we need the young ones in.
Yeah.
But those are
to come on the journey so that they can replace us.
Yeah. And
I'm desperate to find one of those people.
Yeah, and hopefully that can happen. I'd like to have a conversation with my boss and perhaps even the board, because I think that needs to happen. We need the young people to come in there.
And be
Take
intentional about it.
Yeah.
It's not just wait.
Yeah, for sure. I think looking back, so I've been there nearly 13 years. I should have been there for probably 5 years earlier. Could have even been 10 years
You
earlier.
may not have paid for the house though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That is the thing.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't there, because obviously I'm still trying to make sure that the family's financially secure. And that doesn't mean a lot of money in the bank. It just means you can afford to pay the mortgage and there's enough food in the fridge and shop in the cupboards to feed the whānau. Because I know that a lot of families don't even have that,
No.
you know.
We see
But
that
having
too.
said that, I love it being out here in South Auckland and I enjoy the job very much. and meeting all the people, and yeah, a lot of it's fun. There's a lot of humour goes on in the office.
Mm.
You know, there's being Pacific, Polynesian, and Maori. There's a lot of joking going on, and gives us a bit of a boost and a lift when times are quite difficult,
Yeah.
and they can be.
So everybody in the office is Pasifika or Māori?
Oh yes, we had he's not Indian, Hardeep Singh. He's Sikh,
Yeah.
but he was with us for over 10 years, and he's opened up his own office in Manukau as an immigration lawyer. But he was on the judicial review with me on that case. I said, don't leave, do this mahi with me, so your name can be there with the decision, and you can put that on your advertising that you're a High Court immigration lawyer.
Something
And
for you? Something
yeah,
for...
yeah, so he's gone, but he was good being there. We have a Fijian. She speaks Fijian, of course, and Hindi. She's from Fiji. The reo is an important thing for us. We have a Filipina lady. She's fluent in her language. Then we have Wipere Mita in charge of our Māori kaupapa and her lawyers, his lawyers that work with us. They're all learning the kōrero. I think quite a good level, you know. And sometimes they'll be fluent.
Tell me, I'm a member of this community.
Yep.
My daughter's a meth addict. I know that my grandchildren shouldn't be there. She's gone and disappeared on me. I know I need a lawyer to help me with that process. What is my, how can I approach the service?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. You know, for myself.
Hypothetical situation.
I mean, we will represent anybody that comes our way, but, obviously, when you're dealing with meth addiction, there's all sorts of issues.
Okay, let's not worry about what the issue is. The fact is I need a lawyer.
Yep.
I need a lawyer today because it's all got a custard in the background. And,
there'll be a lawyer there that should be able to help with that.
How do I approach the office?
You just ring up and make an appointment, or walk in the door and make an appointment.
So walk-ins and appointments.
Yeah, and appointments. That's the way to do it.
Because I seriously, apart from the times that I've approached Robin, none of our people have ever come up there.
Yeah.
So it's really good, important to know, really.
Yeah.
And the fact is, what you're saying is that you guys your craft is that you're there to understand, and you're there to go on the journey, which is not what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
often.
I mean, especially with things sensitive where safety is a really big issue. For example, protection orders. We should be able to get that done in a day. If you walk in, if it's morning, we should be able to file it the same day, and you should get an answer by the end of the day, if not early next morning. And the nature of, because it's a safety issue, the lawyer has to work fast and get that done and file it, that application filed to the court immediately. And sometimes,
is that a much better approach than to waiting till you're called to court and then looking around frantically as happens when I've been there looking for the duty lawyer who's bound to be not very skilled.
If it's family, you're not going to get a duty solicitor. You're there by yourself. If it's criminal, there'll be a duty criminal matter, police matter. There'll be duty solicitors there all the time. But if you're able to,
I've been there on police matters, and no duty solicitor would front.
Yeah,
I would describe their behaviour as attempting to run away rather than.
Yeah, that's very bad because they're not permitted to do that. They need to front up with each and every case, and the numbers are, they're allocated at their own duty on that particular day. There are supposed to be enough lawyers to deal with that. There should be nobody in court without a lawyer.
So whether it's family or criminal, we could still, or some other civil
Family's
matter.
Family's different. They don't have a duty family.
No, but they could come to you. That's what I'm saying. Is our community
absolutely.
law office the front door for anything judicial?
Yep, anything.
So, I mean, that's wonderful
They
news.
have some limits in what they do. For example, they don't deal with a lot of civil claims, and I think that's a problem throughout the country. They don't have any civil commercial lawyers in the community law offices. And what they need, even if it's somebody who's just retired or nearly retired, or somebody my age or a little bit younger that has had that experience, like I bring to that office, so I can take care of criminal, I can take care of immigration, I can do the family, I can do employment, law, and all the more minor
Property,
things.
what about property?
Tenancy and things like that. We don't do property. That's what I'm getting up to.
If you've got property, you should be able to pay for your own lawyer.
Yeah. But one thing that's happening right now is that's a change in the social, economic environment. Is this Kiwi Savers come in, so a lot of our people, even out here, have a savings account,
A nest
which is
egg,
Kiwi Saver, which
And
is
that
really
was the
good.
vision, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
Quite
that a lot of them, unfortunately, are coming forward and having had to draw it because of immediate needs, debt-wise. So that's happening. People are coming in and they have to do sworn affidavit type forms that they go and apply to be able to draw some, if not all, of their Kiwi Saver. So that happens, but at least that money's there. The other issue is this, excuse me, some are passing away without doing a will. And if the money's 15,000 and down, that's fine. You don't need a will. It'll go to your next of kin. If you're married, and you'll be your husband or wife, or you'll be your children. That's the way the law would work. However, some are dying with $16,000 in the bank, and yet you can't touch that money. You have to go to the High Court and file for an order of administration for somebody to be made administrator of your, and that work means you have to hire a lawyer, and that lawyer means you're going to have to pay big money. So the average cost for that would be about $1,800 to $2,000. It's not unusual; it would be $3,000. So lots of people that don't have a will, that have more than 15,000 in the Kiwi Saver, now need to go to the High Court for letters of administration, they call it. Now that work there, we don't do it officially in our office, but it's a discussion that needs to happen with the boss and the board, because we actually know how to do it. There's probably one, two, three. There's probably three of us that know how to do that work.
But if Soane would come along and ask for a will, we can do that. And so, like, the prevention is way better.
Yeah.
And
so
in fact, you can drop down something off the internet.
Yep, you're right, Judy.
Yeah.
So what we have now, we have a guy called David Anderson. And David is, I would say, describe him semi-retired. I think David may be just a little bit older than me. But he is busy, and he's doing wills like this every week.
Wow.
Of the people of Ōtara and
that's wonderful,
wider.
isn't it?
So that's what happens now. So that service is done. Those who slip through will end up, if they've got more money in the estate or the assets of a person who's died, they're going to need a lawyer to do the High Court work. And then if they've got a will, they're all good. And if you've got money that's under 15,000, you don't need to worry about it. You can't access it. But imagine your money.
Spend that on
and you can't get it out because you need it for the funeral. Yeah, you can't get it out because it's sitting in the bank, won't release it.
Yeah.
So that's an issue that's come up, and good to see the people of Auckland doing wills. And David Anderson's our man that does that from our office.
You think if we get David to call, he'd do a will workshop?
Absolutely. I think David would.
It's a really good idea, isn't it?
David, I think, will do it.
You're telling me you volunteered him?
Yeah, and the other...
Right here on this podcast. Yeah. David Anderson is going to do a will workshop.
Yeah. He might have to come in by podcast. Yeah. Sorry, by... he's on Zoom whenever we see David all the time. Yeah.
Well, whatever, but I mean, that capability is... Yeah. Yeah, it's really important. I think it's one that's added to our key. So what are our other key messages, Soane?
Get to the lawyers and get to the lawyers early. And make an appointment and see one of us.
Yeah.
You don't need to see me. Any of our lawyers can do most of the things that I do. They're trained to do it.
Yeah.
I'll give you, highlight another example to show you what can be done from your centre. We did not do ACC work, and when I came into the I had said that this is something that we should do, but but we needed another person like me who could be a mentor, who knows what they're doing in that area of law, so we can start. But
that's what we old people do these days, isn't it?
Yeah. So we had a young Māori Pākehā girl that came to work for us, and she is probably about 28, I suppose, now. So she started our ACC work because we found somebody who would do the voluntary mentoring. You know, one of the senior, very, very senior lawyers in Auckland, who did that work for her. That could be a separate interview in itself. But she's done a claim at the moment, and she's probably already running this for the past 2 years, and she's collected over $600,000 for the claimant on all that, and there have been many claims historic up till today. So this the client is a woman who has, through the claims done by this lawyer, has now received over $600,000. Amazing, eh? Coming from a community law centre.
They'll be needing a law.
Will. Yeah, for sure. And
so, can you give us like the loose circumstances around that? What's the scenario?
A bit close to home, not to me, but she had had an injury. She had an injury, but she was a qualified registered nurse, very good at her job, highly ranked and rated. And she got an injury, and they had treatment. In the old days, I don't know what they called it, they used to call it medical misadventure, where the treatment went wrong and it caused a problem. And she, over the years, she suffered from that problem and struggled to work and worked in pain, and in the end could no longer work anymore. But ACC would not, they at that point in time did not accept it as something that happened fully from her accident and from her medical treatment. So she was not paid what she was entitled to pay. So the money's big, but it's because it's happening retrospectively.
Yeah.
And this young lawyer, she's in charge of her case, and I'm just watching her from the sideline. But her job for the rest of us here is to teach us ACC law, including me.
Wow.
I have some familiarity, but it's not an area that I worked in, so I need to be
So that does create the capability within the law centre.
Yeah, so we do ACC law now.
Wow.
So that's her job. That young lady's going to be teaching us that mahi on ACC law.
Yeah.
So it's really, really, really helpful.
Really, really helpful.
Yeah. She's good. She's she's a Māori young lady. She's very good at her job.
Some
very
of us are great
fast.
people,
Yeah. I know that already.
Well, so I'm wondering if we need to be looking at a wrap given your timeline.
Yeah, it's up to you. I'm okay.
Yeah.
She just asked me, don't know, yesterday or whatever day she told me. And I said, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Well, we only set it up yesterday. That's how we are, we front foot everything. I think I'd love to, just love to recap on a few things.
Yeah.
And probably the most important message is, whānau, the community law centre is that red building that's on your left, just as you come past the town centre car park, down Beds Road, it's there.
Yeah.
You can walk in that door and someone will come and help you.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
That's
And
basically
even if you don't want to wait, phone them up.
Yep.
And what's the phone
phone
number?
us. Leave a message if you have to leave it, and somebody should be ringing you not too far away.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
But sometimes I think that that's why I think we may need a little bit more input, a bit more staff.
Yeah.
A couple of lawyers. I'm not sure up the front whether they need it.
Yeah.
But everything's on a budget. The management work on a budget.
I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've
it's
got
alarming.
a good Māori kaupapa team, and we just need the rest of the office to have the numbers so we can deal with it, so we're not overworked.
Yeah. Because and also, as we said, that backup. Let's not try and be the brave person doing this on our own.
Absolutely, I am learning that, and I'm telling you, I talk about hard to learn, eh?
And then I guess the last message, of course, from a professional perspective is, from organisational perspective, let's not leave our run on netting these amazing young
Yeah.
talents to come in and help with the kaupapa, because it's so important.
I know. And I just think that it'll be a boost to the law centre.
Yeah,
And there's lots of people applying for jobs, but they're not going at the moment.
yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes myself, a couple of other lawyers, will have appointments on Sunday.
yeah,
And they'll go to church, have your lunch, have a nap. You can come
and we'll
see
see
us
you down there.
3
Yeah,
o'clock,
yeah,
or about 5 or 6.
yeah. That's really important too. Thank you, Soane. It's
Thanks.
very exciting to have
Excuse me.
this really exciting conversation to have, and I wouldn't have dreamed it would have been actually happened, because it felt like a long journey. Yeah, so it's wonderful to have you here. Wonderful to have your colleague with us. Katne, you're a breath of fresh air as well, and that capacity for us to do what we're trying to do has been amazing. We'll put her on a camera another day, and we'll bring her back to you, Whānau. We'll bring the amazing Katne back to you as a separate interview sometime in the future. And Soane's going to bring us some other bustling talent as well, huh?
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
I'm glad, yeah. It's almost like it's better to talk about the centre. I have a role in there, I do, but it's really the centre,
Yeah, it's an amazing gift, and we are so lucky as a community to have that resource with us. So we're going to sign off now and say thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Kia
Thank you,
ora
Judy.
whānau.